You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thanks for joining us for American Medicine Today. We have an exciting show today. I am joined by our radio executive producer, Ethan Euchre.
Here as always.
Our senior fellow, Jeff Wagstaff.
Howdy.
And world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati of the Bonati Spine Institute. Now, typically, I would go into our guest. We have a great one coming up from USF talking about stem cell therapy on stroke victims. And then we have Dr. Stephanie Carey from USF talking about a Karen simulator. And this thing is great for amputees and post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah, it's used to rehabilitate people with prosthetics and things like that.
And help them reintegrate into society.
Virtual reality. It's really cool.
But I want to throw it right to this previous patient of the Bonati Spine Institute. So up first.
In today's Back to Life segment, we will talk to a patient of the Bonati Spine Institute who went from living a life that was restricted by pain and discomfort through their journey of finding the Bonati Spine Institute and are now living pain-free.
Well, I'd like to welcome to the program Debbie Smith from Hudson, Florida. She underwent the Bonati spine procedures. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
You have such an amazing story. When I spoke to you to coordinate you being on the program, I want to give you a majority of the time. So why don't you tell us how you came to be in pain?
Well, at 13, I was diagnosed with scoliosis. They put me in a body brace that went under the chin and below the hips. I sat through high school on my knees because I couldn't bend. After 4 years, they took it off.
Right.
And in my mid-20s, I was bending over a floor safe and passed out. Well, when they found me on the floor, they rushed me to the hospital. And they said that the base of my skull had slipped down over the top of my spinal cord due to the severity of the scoliosis.
Got it.
So they put me in the hospital, and I had a rare blood type, so I was in for 10 days giving my own blood for them to do the surgery.
Sure.
And during the surgery, they went in to put in Harrington rods.
Okay.
Well, they found that my lungs had grown around my spinal cord, so they were trying to separate my lungs from my spine, and my lungs collapsed. So they cut out ribs to plug the holes in my lungs.
You said a doctor that was viewing from upstairs saw that your lungs collapsed. He ran down to cut the ribs to hurry up and plug the holes so you wouldn't die there on the table.
Exactly, because both lungs had collapsed when they tried to separate them.
Right.
And I'm just thankful that he was up there.
Right.
Somebody's looking out for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
No doubt. Unbelievable.
So he comes in, he plugs the lungs, and I'm in the hospital for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
They try to shave part of this hump off from where the scoliosis had pushed the right side of my internal organs out of whack, and he was trying to shave a lot of this hump off. So I was in the hospital for about 2 weeks.
Okay.
I came home not able to move. They said that I would be flat on my back for at least a year in order for this surgery to heal.
Did they have to put extra rods inside of you because they had taken some of the ribs to help the hole that was in the lungs?
Yes, originally they were only going to put them down to one side to try to brace the spine, but they in fact had to end up putting them down both sides, and they hooked it to the spine so the spine couldn't move.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so you're at home. You're trying to recover. Are you in a halo at that point?
Yes, I do have on a halo.
Okay.
Went in for traction 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay.
And I fell down 2 flights of stairs after only being home for 2 weeks. Well, they said that the surgery was too raw, rather, that they couldn't go in to see what type of damage had been done.
Wow.
So in other words, you hadn't healed yet from the previous surgery when you fell down the stairs.
Right.
That they couldn't go in and see if any further damage had occurred.
Right. They said that the surgery was too new. Everything was still... that it would be a large risk to try to go back in.
And they told you it would take about a year to heal from that surgery.
Exactly.
let alone any other new things that popped up from that fall.
Exactly.
Wow.
So I've got a young daughter
Right.
that I had to support. So I just started taking, it's like Tylenol,
Right.
15, 20 times a day, 3 500-milligram tablets, and went back to work.
Okay. And this was how many years ago?
I was in my mid-20s when I had the surgery, and
Okay.
I'm almost 60 now.
Okay, so about
30
30
plus years.
yeah.
Yeah, at least 30-something
Oh my
years.
goodness.
So what happened? So you were told that they couldn't go in. It was going to take a year to heal from this. Did you
Right.
ever go back? Were there complications?
No, I did not go back, honestly. The pain was just so bad
Wow.
from the first surgery that I could not fathom going through that again.
Right.
Understandable.
And you just said you were taking acetaminophen like it was candy and
Oh,
taking
yeah.
them by the handful all
By
day,
the handful.
which can
I-
bring its own issues.
It's bad for your
in
liver,
doing
isn't
so.
it?
Exactly.
Exactly. Liver, stomach ache,
Wow.
constant upset, nausea.
And you forced yourself to go back into the workforce so that you could support your daughter at that
Exactly.
time. So you weren't even healed yet, and you forced yourself to go back to work.
Exactly.
Okay, so now let's jump ahead. Where
Working for Walmart,
Okay.
the pain is so bad that I take 2 or 3 steps and have to stop.
okay,
Take a couple steps and have to stop. I can't sleep at night because the pain in my right arm
Mm-hmm.
is so bad that it just, no matter how many pillows you get, you can't get comfortable. You can't keep the pressure off of it.
right,
And it's like you never really get into a deep sleep.
got it.
It's just impossible to do.
I can't imagine how that kind of pain would affect your life, your work, your
Yeah.
relationship
For
with your
30
family.
years.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's unreal.
I mean, I kept Tylenol in business, trust me.
So,
Got them in my car, had them in my house, had them at the workplace.
and you were having trouble getting into your vehicle, correct?
Yes, I had to actually sit down and then take my hands and lift my legs into the car.
Wow.
Debbie, when Kimberly introduced you, she said you were from Hudson, Florida. I'm curious, at what point and how did you find the Bonati Spine Institute?
Well, I actually got a spider bite that went internal
Right.
and was infected, so I went to a walk-in clinic.
Okay.
They sent me into the hospital to get this spider bite cleaned and drained and scraped
Sure.
and to see what all kind of damage it had done because it had swollen inside
Right.
about the size of a golf ball.
Right.
I mean, it literally looked like 2 belly buttons.
Ooh.
And while they were doing the x-rays, one of the x-ray techs saw how bad the spine was. And she came out and she says, how did you ever even manage to walk in here? And actually made me call someone to come and pick me up because they wouldn't allow me to drive home. And they told me to go see a spine surgeon.
Let
He
me
said,
Let me stop you for 1 second because you mentioned while you were working at Walmart, part of the issue that I think is going to be explained by what you're going to say. You said you were having trouble holding on to items when they were in your hand because you couldn't feel them, so they
right,
would slip and
any
fall.
kind of pressure at all on my hands, and they
Okay.
would go numb.
Got it.
It's like to hold the phone, you switch from hand to
Got it.
hand. To drive, you can only drive with one hand at a time because you've got to let the other one become unnumb.
Ooh. Okay.
Picking up any type of object, it would be like you think that you've got hold of it and you've got a grip on it, and you go to pick it up, and it would fall to the floor.
Okay. So now they tell you need to have someone pick you up, and obviously there's something more extensive with your back than you knew.
Right. They
Okay.
recommended that I go see a spine surgeon.
Okay.
I had driven by the Bonati Spine Institute
Mm-hmm.
because it's just down the street from my house.
Okay.
And so I called, made an appointment, went in. They did x-rays, but they couldn't do the x-rays and read them because there was so much metal in my back.
Right.
So they sent me in and they did MRIs.
Okay.
They got the MRIs back. Dr. Bonati looked at them did an evaluation, and scheduled me for the surgery.
Wow.
Well, that night when I came out from the surgery, I mean, it was like to actually be able to get up from the recovery bed and walk out and get in the car.
Mm-hmm.
It was like tears of joy because I could actually walk without any kind of aid and without any pain. Well, they tell you when you get home to walk for at least 40 minutes.
Right.
And I have never been the kind of person that will wait on my significant other hand and foot. I mean, that's just not who I am. And it was so weird because it was like, oh, let me get that for you, just because I could.
Nice. Good for you.
Let me back you up just quickly because you said that everything was good. You were finally able to walk out. You were in tears of joy because it wasn't an effort anymore to walk. But do you remember the conscious IV sedation and watching and interacting with the doctors? Can you summarize that for us?
It was a little bit freaky, to say the least, because you're watching them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had more than one surgery, and
Right.
at one point, Dr. Bonatti had to go in and cut out a portion of one of the metal rods
Right.
to get to the nerve, and you can see the smoke billowing up out of the tube, and you can smell the burning
Yeah.
metal,
Right.
and your mind just has to kind of go to a happy place. It's like, yes, I
Right.
know this is me that they're doing it to.
Right.
It was just really weird
But you
to
believe,
watch that.
but you,
But I knew that when it was done, that it would all be good.
right.
So how are you feeling today, Debbie?
Sweetie, words can't express how good it feels to not have to sit here and psych myself up. And I mean, and that's no exaggeration.
Yeah.
Literally to have to psych myself up to get up off the couch or to move up off the chair because you know how bad it's going to hurt when you do. And now to just be able to get up, walk into the kitchen, walk into the bedroom without that kind of pain, without that type of having to say, okay, you know, you got to do this, let's get up, you know, get it over with, and then you could sit back down. I can just get up and walk.
You have your life back, basically.
I really do, and I have Dr. Bonatti to thank for that.
All
It's
right.
like I can get up and walk into rooms in my house that I haven't been in other than for necessity purposes in years. I mean, just to get up and walk into a back bedroom just because.
Debbie, I wish you could see the look on
On
Dr.
Doc's
Bonatti's face as you're telling this story. He's far too humble to brag
changed
about
my
his
life.
prowess.
He changed my life.
Well, you changed mine also, Debbie. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
All right, Debbie.
Debbie, thank you for sharing your story with us here. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me yesterday. Really heartfelt happiness to know that after that long that you found relief with the Bonatti Spine Institute.
Absolutely.
Hey,
If
Debbie.
there's anybody out there listening
Hey,
who's
Debbie.
in pain,
Don't go and play football now, okay?
no, I won't. I won't. Trust me.
The Bucks may need you.
Yeah.
Well, continued good health to you, Debbie. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us on American Medicine today.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you,
You
Debbie.
take care.
Have a good day, Debbie.
What a touching story.
Incredible story.
Such an amazing woman, such an inspirational story, and everything that she went through. Each time you thought it can't get worse, and it did, but now it's better. And she regained her strength, and she's back in motion and walking without pain. So if you are suffering like that, reach out to the Bonatti Spine Institute, 855-267-0483, or visit Bonatti.com. Or like she did, walk in.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden, I can cook, and I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Bermel.
Thanks for listening to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Bermel with our radio executive producer, Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here.
And world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati of the Bonati Spine Institute. Now, in studio, we have guest Dr. Cesario Borlongen. And he's a distinguished USF health professor and director of the Center of Excellence for Aging and Brain Repair. Now, he's here to discuss his pioneering work using stem cell therapy to help stroke victims. So thank you for being here, Dr. Borlongen.
Yes.
How you doing, sir? Yep, you're good.
Okay. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, and I was telling you before we got started that a lot of times when we speak with doctors and scientists that do all this crazy research, that you really have to, aside from Dr. Bonati being on the show, who would probably know what you're talking about, Kimberly and I don't. So nor does most of our audience. So tell us about your stem cell research and talk to me as if I'm a third grader.
Well, we started this about 20 years ago here in University of South Florida. And our main target initially was Parkinson's disease.
Okay. Oh, yeah?
And at that time, we were harvesting cells from a little bit controversial source, fetal tissues.
Got it.
But fast forward 20 years
later,
now we're trying to harvest the cells from adult tissues. And this includes bone marrow, umbilical cord. These are discarded tissues. So the ethical issues are actually circumvented with these different adult tissues.
And that's the thing about stem cells, too, is that a lot of people, when you talk about the early days, there's people still to this day that hear stem cells and they think, that you're a baby killer or, you know what I mean? They think that stem cells only come from that source because when we first started hearing about it in the news, that's what it came from. But not the case anymore.
Yes, definitely. That's a big distinction that we need to relay in this message, that not all stem cells are controversial. And as I mentioned earlier, the adult tissue sources are free from these controversial issues. Yes.
And we should also explain what stem cells are. I always say, again, from a layperson's perspective, they're like dummy cells where you can kind of tell them what to become.
Yes,
right?
They can become into any type of tissues, nerve, brain cells in our case. That's our main target. They can become bones or any type of tissues that you can prime them to mature eventually. And so we have different target diseases that we can use stem cells for many debilitating disorders.
And y'all are doing a lot with specifically stroke patients. How did you get involved with that, and what are you doing with stroke patients?
That's right. Stroke right now is one of our, if it's not number 2, sometimes it's even in the top killers in the U.S. and around the world. So it's very limited in terms of treatment options. We only have what we call the tissue plasminogen activator. And in order for that drug to be effective, you need to administer that within 4.5 hours after the stroke onset. So more than 97% of stroke patients don't have any type of treatment. That's where we come, we get in. And the beauty of stem cell therapy is you could deliver the cells within days, within months, or even years after the stroke. So
Really?
the number of patients who could benefit from stem cells are quite dramatic compared to the drug that we have right now in the clinic.
Now, why does the spleen play such a pivotal role in stroke victims?
So until now, when we try to treat our stroke victims, we target the brain.
Right.
But in the last 5 years or so, we recognize that the organ outside the brain, the spleen, is involved in the secondary cell death. So stroke is caused by a blood clot. But after the initial injury, you have this inflammation that occurs. And the major organ that's contributing to this inflammation is the spleen, and which is outside the brain. So it's a paradigm shift. It's a totally different idea. Instead of targeting the brain after stroke, you target a peripheral organ, which is the spleen. Yes.
Gotcha. And I understand that up at USF, University of South Florida, y'all have received quite a bit of federal funding over the years from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Now, what is that all about? Traumatic brain injuries?
Yes, so in recent years, because of our soldiers returning from Afghanistan, from Iraq, and even though it's a different type of injury compared to stroke, but again, the target region is the brain. And having demonstrated that stem cells are capable of trying to recover or rescue those brain cells in stroke, we now have extended that into traumatic brain injury. So we've been fortunate over the last 5 years or so, being funded by the National Institutes of Health, by the Department of Health, by the Veterans Administration, to now focus our attention on traumatic brain injury.
And I've seen a lot of... Go ahead, Doc.
Well, Doc, I'd like to... I'm going to get a little controversial here.
What's new?
The idea of stem cells is fantastic, and is every year progress better and better. It's only one thing that there are two different types of approaches on these stem cells. One is a very wild one. There are appearing clinics all over United States that they don't have the proper accreditation.
That's right.
And this is, to me, very worrisome, because I feel that they are going to dismantle, create a bad reputation, and create a situation where university like ours is going to be suffering on funding, because they will disprestige the system.
Sure.
So it's very important that we fight to preserve this. And any type of conversations that you have, or any situation that you have in the future, you should always talk about that this is a program with a direction to have an FDA approval, and if you do that, then the people will understand that you are going with protection. Because I see people putting fat tissues or blood tissues in patients inside of the disc or the spine, like that, and they're claiming that is going to regenerate the spinal stenosis. That's absurd.
That's right.
Okay, and because of that, I feel very, very concerned about that. If we don't identify this one soon, the prestige can stop the funding and can stop the progress of this incredible field.
I totally agree with you, Dr. Bonatti. So we refer to that sometimes as medical tourism.
Correct.
People trying to benefit, gain money, financial rewards for trying to implant these stem cells, which do not have any scientific basis. So we need to guard ourselves against that type of.
Well, let me tell
therapy.
you something. I just heard that they are charging $5,000 per injection, between $5,000 and $50,000. A person who receives $50,000 in this type of injections, that's fraud. And that fraud needs to be stopped because suddenly the same patients that they are not going to have the good results are going to go and they're going to say, all this field is mumble jumble.
That's right. From our end, we really want to see a safe and effective type of therapy.
Right.
And I think that's how to safeguard ourselves against this type of financial rewards from stem cells that are not well validated.
Yes. And for people to really do the research when they're hearing about these places and they claim FDA approval, to really check it out, because we have places right here in Tampa that are doing this and it's complete fraud.
Well, we appreciate you stopping by. I know we could talk about this for an entire show, and we didn't really get into a lot of what you guys are doing up there at USF, but from what I've read, some great work. And what's next for your research, briefly?
Well, again, we want to continue our research on towards safety and efficacy of our stem cells. And then at the same time, we're trying to extend this to other CNS disorders, brain disorders, such as epilepsy. But again, we need to be very careful on what we do the next step once we do this in the clinic.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us in studio, Dr. Cesario Borlongen, Distinguished USF Health Professor and Director of the Center of Excellence for Aging and Brain Repair. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
I just wanted to find out when this might be available for people.
Well, right now we have ongoing clinical trials, not here in Tampa.
Okay.
These are studies we've done here in USF,
Sure.
but they're available in Stanford University and also in New York University, where they
currently.
have. Yes, currently.
Wow,
yes.
great.
Please feel free to contact us anytime that you want to talk about this. It's very important and needs to maintain this thing alive, because it's probably the future.
It will be my pleasure to do so. Thank you.
Thank you again for joining us in studio, Dr. Cesario Borlongen, Distinguished USF Professor and Director of the Center of Excellence for Aging and Brain Repair. Thank you. You're listening to American Medicine Today. Make sure you stay tuned, because we have somebody else from USF coming in, a doctor to talk about the virtual reality system, Karen. Make sure you stay tuned.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden. I can cook. And I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thank you for listening to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Brumell, joined by our radio executive producer, Ethan Euchre.
Happy to be here.
World-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati.
Happy to be here, too.
And we're happy because joining us in studio is Dr. Stephanie Carey, Assistant Research Professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at the University of South Florida here in Tampa. And she's here to tell us about an innovative virtual reality system called Karen. And that helps aid in rehabilitation and help some people with disabilities by increasing their independence. So thank you for stopping by, Dr. Carey.
Thank you for having me.
And I feel like we already know a lot about Karen because for our television show, we stopped by the University of South Florida and got to see it in person.
Right.
And we were so blown away by what you all do up there that we said we have to have you on radio too. So for our listeners who don't know anything about it, what is Karen and what does Karen stand for?
So Karen stands for Computer Assisted Rehabilitation Environment, and basically it is a video game that's on steroids. Really, it's kind of like a Disney ride where you can move in a virtual reality space, and we use it for rehabilitation purposes and to learn more about how we can help people with disabilities.
Yeah, and we got to see it, like I said. And
I was trying to look for a photo of it so I could try to hold it up.
To show it up to the camera.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it takes up an entire room. If I'm trying to theater of the mind here for the radio listeners, if you can imagine almost a semicircle that is like a giant IMAX screen.
Correct.
Right? And then there's a platform that the person stands on.
Correct.
And
so we had to actually dig a pit into our laboratory space to allow for a moving platform that moves in 6 directions, up and down and sideways. It also has a treadmill. That's part of it. So you can be walking in the woods, but then we can adjust the platform to make it seem like you're walking uphill or downhill or, are experiencing stuff that may happen to you in the real world.
And what I thought was cool was we actually had, you guys do a lot with veterans from the local VA here in Tampa, and you had a couple there that actually demonstrated how it works, and they're strapped into, if you're watching the video stream, Kimberly's showing photos actually, they're sort of in a harness, so I'm assuming that's to keep them from falling, because a lot of these guys are amputees, they have prosthetics, and they're trying to learn to walk again, basically.
Correct. So, the harness is for safety, obviously, but then it allows the person to feel safe. So if they are on a new prosthesis or they're trying something different on their prosthesis, for instance, like walking uphill, they are comfortable to do so in a safe environment, whereas if they were just walking around in the real world, they might be a little bit more hesitant to complete some of this.
But with the harness, you said it's not really holding up their body weight. It's them. It's just there in case they were going to trip and fall.
Correct. So it does not support them at all. It would only do so if they fall.
Right. And what's interesting, what you call it? Conveyor belt's the wrong thing, but like a treadmill. They're dual treadmills. Yeah. As they're going, they work independently, so you can replicate rocky environment or inclines.
Correct. So it's a little bit different than your typical treadmill. It's actually 2 independent treadmills. So the right and the left foot can be, the speed of them can be determined separately, adjusted. And so that helps with a couple different things. You could cause a trip so that somebody could get used to how to recover from a fall or a trip. Sure. But you can also use it for things you were mentioning about stroke earlier, that you can have actually the side that's has been affected by the stroke to actually work harder than the other side. So during a rehab program, you can actually have the amputee side or the stroke paralyzed side work harder than the normal side to get more out of your rehabilitation.
What I found was so interesting, I think virtual reality game that we all loved, he was like driving a boat. And what was interesting, I mean, you had walks and you could tell them, hey, reach up, try to grab the bird, do this, do that.
Yeah, they had birds flying by.
So it's taking their mind off the fact that they're on a prosthetic, but it's making them do these other activities.
Correct. So it's, there's that motivation factor of wanting to do better the next time that you get from video games. That's why my 10-year-old son is addicted to video games, because he always wants to get a higher score. Right. So the same in this rehab, not only, do you want to feel better about yourself, but if you have this gamification of it, it hopefully helps with motivation.
We were talking about this during the TV interview, but for people that are listening, is this something that you ever see as like a scaled down version that will either be in doctors' offices or something that could be taken home by the individual that's learning to reintegrate?
Correct. So we have this very big, expensive system in our laboratory, and it's mostly so we can collect information and research about these different rehabilitation programs. But ideally, we would like to have something that's just a TV screen and maybe a Kinect that's already commercially available and cheap, and many people already have them in their homes, and integrate those types of things into something that couldn't be a homebound modification.
Well, and we should ask, what are some of the other applications? We've talked about working with wounded warriors. You mentioned stroke victims. What are some of the other uses for something like this?
Well, so the other thing about it is not only the physical component, but there's the cognitive component to it as well. So we're looking also at stuff like a post-traumatic stress disorder, where they can maybe physically look fine and can walk fine, but then they hear a car backfire, for instance, and that can cause stress and can cause them to trip or something. So those are some of the things that we're also doing. We can collect information such as heart rate and see how their stress levels may adjust. And in this virtual world, we can layer it, so we can start with a nice quiet scene where there's woods and birds, but then we can slowly add things that may cause distractions or stress somebody out and see how that affects them.
When you talk about rehabilitation, usually we try to transfer this to the practitioner. How long do you think a program like that requires to train an amputee or a traumatic stress syndrome individual in different categories? How long each program will take to rehabilitate one of these individuals?
That's kind of, individually based. But one of the things we're doing for amputees, for instance, we're working with the Department of Defense and looking at just assessments. And so how clinicians assess people with an amputation and how they decide what type of prosthesis is appropriate for which person. So if you're an older patient, you may have a different need than somebody that's 20 years old as far as a prosthetic limb. And so some of that stuff we can give them some information about that now. So looking at, okay, what kind of assessment is appropriate in the clinic? Because our system can take a lot of information and collect a lot of data, but then we can use that information to help the clinician decide, okay, these outcome measures are appropriate for this person, and it would help with prosthetic decisions among the team of clinicians.
So you will start to create programs in the future. If somebody's the amputee is below the knee, this type of a program will work, and above the knee, this other type of program will work, etc.
Correct.
Okay.
And deciding which type of prosthetic foot, are you going to be more running, are you going to be walking, and what types of information do we need to collect the clinic to decide, okay, yes, you are appropriate for a running foot, for instance.
I could see this being used for like police training and even self-defense and things like this. Do you know of any applications being used like that?
Not really. I mean, there is some for return to duty. So if a wounded warrior has been injured, there have been some studies in San Diego and San Antonio where they're looking at, okay, can they now get back holding a gun properly? And if a bomb goes off, can they still react in a way that's quick? And so some of those things have been done.
That's really interesting. And I know, having been up there and seen it in person,
it's impressive.
It's pretty impressive. Now, a lot of people would probably ask, how does a university pay for something like that? It must have cost a fortune.
It did. We got a grant from the National Science Foundation specifically for getting major research instrumentation. And the idea by that grant is to bring a big piece of expensive equipment, but that can help the whole community. So not just the university, but like you mentioned, the Tampa VA and other communities around the area.
And how do you find candidates to come and try out Karen?
So we work with the VA, we work with rehabilitation, we work with the School of Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation Sciences at University of South Florida. And, you know, we just try to get the word out.
Yeah. Well, because our show actually airs nationally, so it's not necessarily just people here in the Tampa area, but I'm sure people would be interested in coming and checking it out. I know I wanted to get myself strapped into it.
So did I, because even though we don't have any defects,
I have plenty of defects.
Well,
trust me.
Not at least
what's that?
At least no physical impairments is what I mean by that. But
it's all up here.
It seemed disorienting. I don't even, as standing there, I thought, I don't even know if I could be as coordinated as the amputee that was using the machine.
And so there's, I mean, you're talking about other applications, but motion sickness could be another example of that. And we've actually had some dancers on it from University of South Florida. And they're looking at, you know, how can they balance while moving on a platform. So, that, you know, just getting, you know, looking at your body and how it works is, you know, for dancers and sports people, it's really important.
Forgive me, did we get into gait training? I know Dr. Bonati had asked because you have people trying to formulate a normal gait. And the other gentleman that was with you when we filmed at USF was saying that they can put up like a shadow or an avatar of someone walking fairly normal.
Correct.
And they can
so that's one of the things we're looking at is how can we motivate people? So is it motivating to have you know, somebody that's walking you know, more efficiently on the screen?
Correct.
Is it good to see your avatar and see where you are? And so we're looking at some of those things as far as motivation. What motivates somebody to correctly do the appropriate tasks?
Excellent.
The other thing that I saw it was excuse me, a little surprise is the type of a prosthesis that they are being used. The prosthesis that I saw there are prosthesis that I used when I was in training in medical school. So I think the technology today allowed prosthesis to be a lot lighter and a lot simpler, so the individuals can use some of that strength that is necessary to move the prosthesis, instead to be lifting a heavy weight, lift something easier to lift and gain more mobility. Are we improving with this type of a technique, that type of prosthesis also?
Yeah, I mean, I think the prosthetic technology has advanced quite a bit, but as far as training the people how to use this advanced technology, that's where we're still a little bit behind, and that's where we hope the Karen system will help.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Stephanie Carey, talking about the Karen system, the virtual reality system.
Oh, and if people want to check it out,
yes.
Obviously we have an episode coming out that's all about that when we visited. What's the website that people can read more?
You can go to the USF website and look at mechanical engineering and the CART, which is our Center for Assistive and Rehabilitation Robotics Technologies.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Stephanie Carey, Assistant Research Professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at the University of South Florida.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, you're listening to American Medicine Today. If you or someone you know suffering with neck, back, sciatic pain, migraine headaches, reach out to the Bonati Spine Institute, 855-267-0483, or visit Bonati.com. Coming up after the break, we're going to hear what's new in American Medicine Today. Stay tuned.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. and it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden. I can cook. And I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
I really wish that we had a camera behind the scenes here. It's a fun show.
We're just making faces
American
at each other.
Medicine Today. I know, but it's fun. You guys would enjoy it. Anyway, I'm Kimberly Brumell. Thanks for continuing to listen to American Medicine Today. Joined by our radio executive producer, Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here.
Senior fellow Jeff Wagstaff.
Chicks dig me.
That's a lie.
And
that's a blatant lie.
And across from me, world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati of the Bonati Spine Institute.
I'm doing ugly faces.
That's how laughable that statement is.
I'm sorry, Kimberly. I didn't mean to throw you up. That wasn't fair.
Throw her up. All right, this is Doc segments here. Right?
Okay.
So
172 pounds of screaming, what do you call it?
It's 170 pounds of screaming steel and sex appeal.
Right.
There you go.
Why do you encourage that behavior?
Because it's comical.
It makes me
Oh, Lord.
It's rotten steel, though.
You know, I am
Rusty steel?
I am surrounded by a great group of men and a female in the other room that is our social media guru. Mm-hmm. And
Ben.
That will keep it out.
Ben. Mm-hmm. And Ben, he's one of the men.
Ben.
I know.
Yes.
The two of us. Oh, not that bad.
Not that bad.
But happy birthday shout out to Merida Sensulo.
Ah, Merida.
Aha, social media guru.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Don't sing the whole song, or we'll have to pay.
do I have to pay royalty?
Oh.
You have to pay royalties.
6 minutes already.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. We're
Well, anyway, so
What's new?
Doc, yeah, what's
new, Doc?
What's up?
What's up, Doc?
I really would like to talk about what is this statement that I heard all the time that Donald Trump is not presidential. I never will understand so much stupidity. But let's talk here.
I would be the author of said stupidity. And the point I was making is we had Liz on earlier from Fox News. And
last week.
Right. She was on, was that a week ago or 2 weeks ago?
Show.
No,
Yes.
last week.
They all kind of blend together. But when we were talking to Liz, her point is that although Donald Trump has accomplished many great things, that he doesn't have the mannerisms or the etiquette of the presidential office.
He's an entertainer. He himself came out and said, with the Carly Fiorina comments that he made, he came out and said, I said that as an entertainer. He said, I've been on, I did the Apprentice. People see me as an entertainer.
Right.
Sometimes that part of me gets a little out of control and he says things that are inflammatory and whatever. So when he's not being the entertainer, when he's talking issues in business,
he is dead on. Yes.
Yeah, some would say. Some would argue that fact.
And under full disclosure, when the mics were off, Dr. Bonatti and I had this conversation, and I said that's what she was trying to do. And I think Dr. Bonatti thought, but he'd be a great president.
Well, one thing that I really resent is when somebody said it's not presidential. I really would like to have in my brain what these people think is presidential. Somebody who's weak, somebody who lies, somebody who's a politician,
that has women
somebody
in the White
who
House.
harassed women and then said, I never did anything. Those are presidential. Well, let me tell you this. I prefer an unpresidential.
What's
okay? I prefer somebody
depends
who's
on
going
your
to...
definition of is.
Yeah,
What is.
Yeah. Well, I prefer somebody who's going to tell me the truth as it is. I prefer somebody who's going to tell me very clearly who are my enemies and is going to attack those enemies in a strong way.
Yes.
I don't care what terminology they use.
Do you want a thrill up your leg?
Whoa. Family
Don't
show.
we all?
I'm just wondering because Obama does that for some people.
You really shocked me. Now I'm looking at my leg.
Hold on. Well, let's go back to what is that thrill on your leg?
But you know, and then you have the president trying to make side deals, grabbing other people's legs and going, well, you know, let Putin know we're gonna work things out once I'm reelected.
Well,
that's presidential.
I think the point that Liz was trying to make is that there's an aura about the office that
they're politically correct.
No, not necessarily. I think that there's sort of a regalness.
It's an etiquette
that you're
issue.
supposed to have when you are president of the United States. I agree with you. Almost none of them have that once they get in the office. But
let me tell you one thing. Why don't you tell me when a quote unquote Obama goes and embrace a traitor and change that traitor for 5 fighters and embrace terrorists and embrace the family. And then
that's not presidential.
That is presidential?
Before
now,
they
tell
even
me
found...
if it is presidential when somebody who's a hoodlum there attack an individual on a store and then is being shot by a police and he goes and defend the criminal and attack the police. Is that presidential?
Well, I don't think
anyone is arguing that Obama.
I don't think.
Well, but the problem is
Liz
this is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about.
Separate
Presidential.
conversations.
Right. But you have somebody that's so passionate about the United States, is sick of playing the whole PC game. Every once in a while he says something, but I also think they strive to find a hidden meaning in some of what Trump says.
Is there a hidden meaning, though, in what he said about Fiorino?
Okay,
saying, look at
Can
that
you see that face?
Look at that face. Is that the face of our president? Is she an
Okay,
attractive
but
woman?
no-
Absolutely not. Do I agree with him?
No,
Yes.
but you know what?
That's a bit
I have
juvenile,
also
though.
heard the use of, is it the face of, is that the representation of, and not necessarily, is she attractive female? So I think it's a bit of a far stretch.
Not.
Well,
Come on.
I think it's an
He blatantly
entrapment.
said that. I mean, and then he backtracked, which made no sense. Where he was
But I
talking
have
about
also
her
heard, you know, I
her persona, and it was laughable. You know, he was talking about her face and the way she looks.
And so what?
I don't care.
The only problem is
But saying face of can be the persona. Like, is that the front? Is that the person? Is that the face you want representing
to have
this? Not necessarily an attractiveness.
You really believe
meaning.
that, Kimberly?
So
I do.
don't
I've heard
think-
it used that way. Yes, I have.
No, I've heard other people use it too, but I don't think Trump was using it in that
all
way.
right. That's my
Okay.
This is my subject.
Okay. Let me
Now-
shut off my mic.
Let me tell you this. Do you think don't you think that this is an entrapment? These comments are being done in private. Is the same entrapment that
It was an
No, it was
interview
done in
with
an
Rolling Stone
interview.
magazine.
public
It was done in
comments.
an interview.
on television.
Okay. No,
He
was
knew it
not
would
an
be
interview.
publicized. I mean, let's
Was
face
not
it,
an
I can't
interview.
go with you there.
Was not an interview. Was not an interview. They
It
keep
was.
It
talking
was a
about.
piece in Rolling Stone magazine.
It was.
Well,
That was
Rolling
an
Stone
interview.
magazine still was not an interview.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a publication.
It was an interview.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Okay.
I think it's an entrapment. The same thing that they did to Rodney with the 47%, and then later on, he didn't have the guts to fight it.
That's true.
No,
but that's a very good point.
Don't attack Donald Trump, because if you say something, he's going to eat you alive.
Yeah.
That's a precedent that we need.
The one comment I didn't care for is his attack on Ben Carson, like, he's Christian, this one's not Christian enough. BS. You can be Christian, deal with it. Come on.
I think, and we're out of time already.
I know.
But what it goes back to when we were talking about Liz Peek and the whole presidential comments, I think what she was saying was she doesn't really like Trump.
Right.
I like the man. I think that it goes back to what he said about a lot of things that he says come off as he's trying to be controversial. He's trying to be an entertainer. He's trying to say things off the cuff to mean, whatever he wants.
Yeah.
I don't care about any of that stuff. That doesn't bother me. Would he be a great leader? That's what I want to know. And
that's a role. And Doc, for the first time,
Doc's giving me the wrap-up sign where I'm usually doing it to him. All right, show's over.
Thanks for listening. We'll holler at you next year.
Good talk.
Make sure you tune us in on Bloomberg Saturdays and Sundays and locally here in Tampa, ABC WFTS. I don't even know what to say. If you have back problems, check out Bonatti.com.
We're out.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden. I can cook. And I'm really thrilled. The outcome has been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.